Okay, so good afternoon everyone. Magandang hapon. Konnichiwa minasan. Welcome to another SEARCA Agriculture and Development Seminar Series, or ADSS. And we're glad that we are here and in full house. The ADSS encourages the presentation and discussion of development and research issues, as well as their implications for agricultural and rural development and natural resource management. For more than 20 years now, the ADSS has been facilitating a vibrant exchange of scientific and practical knowledge in agriculture and development within and beyond the Los Baños science community. Thus, we encourage you to engage in the open forum later after our speaker's presentation. My name is Stoics, and I'll be your MC for this afternoon. This is ADSS on the essence of the successful development of textile industries in Prewar, Japan. We are delighted to welcome you all today's interesting presentation on textile industries, its development, the history of it, and particularly in Prewar, Japan. We're also being live streamed live. We are also being streamed live via Facebook page. So if you have your friends who could not join us here, you can send them a message. If they can still come, they can come here and they're welcome. If not, they can join our live stream through our SEARCA's Facebook page. Now for a few house rules before we start. Please put your phone on silent mode and reserve your questions at the open forum. You can use the microphone later or the paper that we've distributed during your registration. So for any social media sharing, please use the hashtag SEARCAADSS. Now to officially open the seminar and introduce our esteemed speaker, let us all welcome Dr. Glenn Gregorio, SEARCA Center Director.
Good afternoon. Thank you very much, Stoic. And actually, today is my birthday, 6th birthday, but I know our speaker is a very good friend of mine, my colleague before, and I will tell you what happened. So, Kay is a very important person to me and my family. So, now we are really honored to welcome Dr. Kay Otsuka to SEARCA's Agricultural and Development Seminar Series. A globally recognized development economist, Dr. Otsuka has made remarkable contribution to agricultural and industrial development, particularly in Asia and Africa. So, Dr. Otsuka, passion for agriculture development in Africa is deeply personal and transformational. Long time ago, not so long time ago, but as chairman, when he was the chairman of the board of trustees at Erie, I think that was in 2003 or 2004, up to 2006 or 2007, he championed efforts to expand Erie's work beyond Asia, particularly into sub-Saharan Africa. I can personally attest for this as I was a scientist at Erie during that time and one of the victims of his vision. Thank you, Kay, for that. I was sent to West Africa, Nigeria, as the rice breeder and liaison scientist of Erie to there. It's like kicking me off and sending me there to help establish Erie's presence there in Africa. So today's Erie's footprint in Africa is undeniable, with over, I think, more than 100 staff now in East and Southern Africa, contributing significantly to the region's food security and agricultural innovation. On a personal note, my time in Africa, I was there for 5-6 years, was not only productive professionally, but also life-changing. I went there with 4 kids, I came back with 6 kids. So I'm really productive in a harsh environment in Africa. So thank you, Kay, for that. And that's a lasting impact for Africa and for me as a family. So my youngest, my 2, they are now in the university. The second youngest is now at UPLB. The youngest is graduating in high school. So thank you, Kay, for that. So currently, so that's my personal. So currently, Kay is the Senior Fellow of SEARCA, a Visiting Fellow of Asian Development Bank Institute, and the Distinguished Honorary Fellow or Professor at Kobe University. Dr. Otsuka holds a PhD in Economics from University of Chicago and had led key institutions including IRI, I mentioned, the International Association of Agricultural Economists, and Japanese Association of Development Economics. So a member of the Japan Academy, has been honored with Japan's Purple Ribbon Medal. I think all the ribbons are here. The Order of Sacred Treasure of Silver and Gold. Even Diamond will be there also. Prolific also, we are talking a while ago about writing how to write a research proposal or not research proposal, research article, which is very important. So we share our experience how to write paper. And I got something from him, but I may always advise if you write technical paper is I always say there's no such thing as good writers, only good rewriters. So you rewrite first draft, 100 drafts before you publish a paper. So he also experienced that. So today we have the privilege of hearing from one of the world's foremost thinker in rural development economics, whose work has shaped not just policies, but also careers and lives of those who have privilege of working with him. Today, Kei will share the insight on, the title is The Essence of the Successful Development of Textile Industry in Prewar, Japan, or I will put it as the secret formula behind how Prewar, Japan wove a rising textile industry. So please join me in welcoming Dr. Keijiro Otsuka.
Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you very much, Glenn, for your extremely kind introduction about myself. I was, when I was 30 years old, I was pure agricultural economist. But I was trained in economics department, so I studied economics. And then after age 45, I started working in China, looking at the industries. And I found that there are a lot of similarities between agriculture and the industry. One of the messages I have made in my latest book is agriculture and industries are different in some aspects, but very similar in another aspect. But nowadays, agricultural economists only look at agriculture. Industrial economists look at only industries. That's a very bad division of labor. That's one of the messages. But I could have chosen other messages in SEARCA, but it's SEARCA who chose this topic. Last Monday, I talked about why did the Philippines fail to develop. And today, I'm talking about the successful development of the textile industries in Japan, Prewar, Japan. The development of Prewar, Japan was a basis for rapid post-war development. It's good to know about what happened before the war. And then on Friday, I'll talk about the results of case studies of industrial development in China, Taiwan, and Bangladesh. If you attend 3 of them, you can understand what really I'm thinking about. Before I assume that the audience today economists, at least have some knowledge of economics, but that may not be the case. So I try to be careful. Sorry, I forgot to bring. Okay. Okay. So. Case study, I talk about case study on Friday and historical study today. I published my sort of lifetime books, synthesizing what I have done for the last 40 years, last November. Publisher said the maximum length of the book should be 80,000 words. And then I drafted the first draft. I found that there were 150,000 words, so that's a double. So I wanted to include this chapter in the book, but I negotiated with the publisher, Edward Elgar, but we finally agreed that the length should be 100,000 words. So unfortunately, this this study is not included in the book. But there are historical study and development studies based on case study are closely related. But to my knowledge, there are almost no economic historians who study about development. There are no development economists who study about economic history. That division of labor is again, I think, wrong. So there are merits and demerits of historical study and case study. Merit of the historical study is it's possible to trace long-term process of development. On the other hand, in the case of case study, we have to conduct a questionnaire survey. We cannot ask 50 years ago, what did you do? That's a stupid question. There'll be no answer, right? Then, at most, what did you do 10 years ago? We may receive some reasonable replies, but otherwise it's not possible. So, the merit of case study is the coverage of a short period. And then another merit of historical studies, it's possible to identify what types of industries are promising and what types of technologies are important at various stages of economic development. The merit is the absence of the data on about characteristics of innovators and imitators. Innovation is always a source of development, not only in industries but also in agriculture. We need the innovation to facilitate the development. And merit of a case study is it's possible to identify what kind of innovations are important and identify characteristics of innovators and imitators. And therefore, case studies and historical studies are complementary, which the historians should talk with the development economist, and I do. My wife is an economic historian. So this is actually a joint paper with my wife, although I do not mention her name. So Japan started modern economic development in Meiji Restoration in 1868. And then some people argue that Japan succeeded in catch-up. So there's a catch-up hypothesis. Japan successfully imported advanced technologies from Europe. Yet, however, what technologies were important, what technology were imported is not clear in these studies. And there is you may not be interested, but there is a famous model called the flying geese model of development. Import of goods from Europe takes place, and then looking at the imported product, some entrepreneurs start domestic production. That is called import substitution, and if production continues to increase, export begins. That's a common story emphasized by Akamatsu. This argument may be correct, but what was the role of technology import, and what were the adaptations to particular factor endowments in Japan? And Professor Sugihara recently argued that Japan succeeded because development was labor-intensive industrialization. My answer is probably yes, but why was only Japan, not the Philippines, not Cambodia, not Thailand, which successfully developed in Asia? This is a graph showing the concept of flying geese. So there is the import, and then looking at the imported good, some entrepreneurs start domestic production, and domestic production increases and the export begins. A similar thing happens in cotton yarn, cotton cloth, and textile machines and so on. So this is the theory of flying geese pattern of development. This is a little bit difficult for non-economists. Uh, in my theory, in my conceptualization, there are three types of inputs. One is unskilled labor, a capital, and skilled labor with high education and scientific knowledge. Of course, there may be somewhere in between, semi-skilled labor, etc. But conceptually, it's a good idea to think about unskilled labor, capital, and skilled labor classifications. And successful growth follows the changing comparative advantage. That is, when economy was low income, very poor, the labor is very cheap. So it's best to take advantage of the availability of cheap labor. So economy should start economic development with labor-intensive industry. As the economy develops and accumulates money, fund, then capital-intensive industry has become advantageous. And then as time passes and people invest in university education, graduate education, and so on, then there'll be an abundant supply of skilled workers, and then knowledge-intensive industry is appropriate. My fundamental hypothesis is that no country can ever develop without following a changing comparative advantage described above. Some African countries try to jump from agrarian-based economy to service industry or knowledge-intensive industry. I predict that they will never succeed. Philippines, there is some argument that let's forget about industry. It's too difficult. So let's move from agriculture to service sector. That will fail. I can bet. Japanese economy failed to grow for the last 35 years. This is not the history, but the current situation. Because of the failure to develop knowledge-intensive industries, government does not invest enough in science and education. That is why Japanese economies has been stagnant, and we are not transiting very well from capital-intensive to knowledge-intensive industry. Sorry, this is economics. I hope you can understand. I assume that there are two types of technologies. One is one is labor intensive. This is so-called unitized cone, requirement of capital and labor to produce 1 unit of output. So, sorry. Obviously, this is labor using labor intensive technology, using a lot of labor to produce 1 unit of output. This is capital using or capital intensive technology, using a lot of capital, right? So the question is, which technology should be adopted in developing countries? Politicians, politicians in low-income countries tend to choose this one. This is more modern, looks nice. But think about availability of a cheap labor. It is advantageous to take labor-intensive or labor-using technology. And on the other hand, as wage rate increases and labor becomes expensive, it's better to use capital using technology. It is clear. If this is not clear, you cannot enjoy the rest of my lecture. Is this okay? You can use your common sense, right? So African countries, for example, should start with this one and then move to this one. China has succeeded to move from this one to this one, and there is another type that is knowledge-intensive industry. That is another stage, but today I'll talk about development of relatively low-income countries. So I'll talk about this labor using technology and capital using technology. empirical hypothesis, selective technology choice and adaptations. Oh. I'm sorry. Yeah, as in many developing countries, initially Japan imported modern capital using technologies and failed to develop. So even Japan tried to import this type of technology, but the economy did not develop at all. And gradually, Japan selectively imported labor using technology, or converted capital using technology to labor using technology. We modified the technology, which is adaptation to labor abundant factor endowment of the Japanese economy at that time, at the late 19th century or early 20th century. Japan adopted the capital using technology only after World War I, when real wage rate began increasing. The purpose of this study is to prove the hypothesis postulated above, based on the review of the development of textile industries, which were leading industries in Prewar, Japan. The raw silk was a very important export commodity, and also cotton fabric was a very important commodity. So in total, 50% of export comes from textile industries. And then these industries, except cotton yarn, it's very labor intensive. So a lot of employment was generated. That contributed to poverty reduction. In low-income countries, it's most important to provide employment opportunities for the poor, unskilled workers. Otherwise, poverty cannot eradicate. The structure of textile industry is somewhat complicated. There are four industries. I'm going to talk about four industries. You should not be confused whether I'm talking about silk or cotton or weaving or spinning. We have cotton textile industries and silk textile industries. And then for cotton, we have cotton spinning industry. This industry produces yarn. And we have only modern sector. The traditional sector was out-defeated by import. It disappeared. We have only modern sector. And then cotton weaving industry is to produce cotton fabrics, including cotton fabrics. And then silk industry consists of, very similarly, silk textile industry consists of two subsectors. One is silk reeding industry to produce raw silk or silk yarn. And then we have a silk weaving industry to produce silk fabrics, including kimono. For this one, we have only traditional sector. Modern sector never developed. In this study, I'd like to review development paths of the four types of industry. So in order to avoid confusion, I allocate one whole page to clarify which subsector I'm talking about. So I'd like to talk about the cotton spinning industry first. Cotton spinning industry in Japan became the world #1 industry around 90 in the 1920s, I think. Bigger than United Kingdom and India. We became #1. It's a very, very important industry. So this graph shows changes in real value of import domestic production and export of cotton yarn. We have, I do not know the reason, but Japanese are fond of collecting data. If you want to analyze the history of the United States, you have problem of data. There are no data. Also UK, industrial revolution, research is very difficult because of the lack of data. Somehow, in the case of Japan, historically, Japanese are fond of collecting data. We have too much data. For production, we have monthly statistics. Too much data. We have 20 companies and monthly, 12 times 200 and 50 years. It's huge data set. Also in railroad and many other industries, we have lots of data. If you're interested, actually, many young American, some Chinese, Australian, and the English researchers are interested in Japanese economic history because data are available. Okay. So, imports started, and then domestic production began, and then export began. This is like what the flying geese model predicts. But the production continued to grow, but export declined. This is different from what flying geese model predicted. So what happened? Puzzling observations. Government subsidized 10 private cotton mills, cotton spinning mills, in 1880 to 85, using mill spindles, and production, however, did not visibly increase in the 1880s. As predicted by my hypothesis, they failed to develop, with very, very few exceptions. Eight factories were closed very, very soon. Flying geese pattern is not valid, particularly because of sustainable growth of domestic production with declining export. Why? There were two spinning, this is very important. There were two spinning machines, mule and ring. Have you studied this in your history? Okay, mule machine moves slowly. Machine moves. But it goes very slowly. So it's, in a sense, inefficient. On the other hand, there's a ring machine, which goes like this. It's very, very fast. Ring machine is more efficient if yarns are not broken. Ring machine moves quickly, and however, ring machine cannot use short fiber cotton because of the breakage of yarn. India, Russia, Brazil. One researcher went to the basement of cotton spinning machine company, Pratt Brothers in London. He went to the basement and then checked which country ordered what kind of machines. And he found that all the countries, Russia, Brazil, etc., India, all of them imported the mule machines. Japan was the exception. Only Japan imported ring machines while using Indian cotton. It is interesting to find that India sent a mission to Japan in 1891 to inquire. Indians knew that Japan was increasing production. So they sent a mission to Japan to inquire what was happening in Japan. And then mission reported that the Japanese cotton spinning industry had no future because cotton mixing, which was not recommended or even prohibited by a spinning machine company, was practiced. So Indians feel relaxed. Oh, okay, Japanese spinning industry will collapse very soon. But that was not true. Japanese cotton spinning industry grew very, very fast. This one shows so-called capital-labor ratio of capital and labor. If a large amount of capital is used, we are here. If a lot of labor is used, then capital-labor ratio becomes small. So in 1883, there are several indicators, but they are consistent. But in 1883, Japan used relatively capital-intensive technology, new machines in particular. But then, over the 10 years, within 10 years, capital-labor ratio became 1/3. The technology sorry. I wanted to go back to the sorry. No, sorry. I wanted to go back to the theoretical diagram. Yeah, this one. Okay. So initially, the Japanese industry used this kind of technology, capital using technology. And the industry did not develop. And then somehow, Japanese industry developed. This was non-existent. There was no such thing as this. But Japan developed this type of technology. This is called cotton mixing technology. Cotton mixing technology. Yeah, capital labor ratio in cotton spinning industry declined in the late 19th century due to the adoption of ring spindles and development of cotton mixing technology, which employed large number of female workers to comb, sort out, and mix short and long fibers very skillfully while using Indian cotton. Indians said Indian cotton is too short to use a ring machine, but Japan modified the technology. So comb, sort out, and mix short and long fibers successfully, skillfully, while using Indian cotton. And Professor Gary Saxonhouse of the University of Michigan, who passed away 20 years ago, he argued that the cotton mixing technology is epoch-making technological progress. Even though technologically it's simple, economically it is vastly important. We regard this as significant adaptation. In terms of figure 2, the isochron AA prime was created. As a result, Japan outcompeted India and the UK in Asian cotton yarn market. by developing cotton mixing technology, Japan acquired comparative advantage in the spinning industry and became #1 in the world. And capital labor ratio increased sharply only after 1920, which means that the cotton mixing technology was no longer important. This is due to sharp increase in real wage rate, which is called the turning point. So shift from labor using technology to labor saving technology occurred only when wage rate increased. So initially, Japan imported Indian cotton, but gradually we used the cotton from the US. The staple is longer, and longest is Egyptian. So we increased these, and then cotton mixing was no longer important in later stage. This shows the real wage rate, changes in real wage rate. Real wage rate began increasing only after World War I. So then the cotton spinning industry adopted labor saving, capital using technology. And that's the right decision. Okay, this is a story about cotton spinning. Let us move on to cotton weaving industry. This graph shows changes in real value of import, domestic production by sectors, by traditional and modern sectors, and export of cotton fabrics. So here, as you can see, production by modern sector was not very important. It was the traditional sector whose production was important. So traditional sector actually dominated, even though the modern sector began increasing production only in the later period. There was almost no import, so flying east model does not apply, and export gradually increased over time. So what happened? There was negligible import of cotton fabrics, nullifying the flying east model of development. Although it is very popular among Japanese researchers and Chinese researchers, Korean researchers, but I don't think that model is valid. And modern cotton spinning mills introduced labor-saving iron power looms around 1890 to produce cotton cloth. So spinning companies introduced iron, very labor-saving iron power looms around 1890 to produce cotton cloth. But significant production did not begin. Significant production began, as we have seen, much later. It was introduced at this time, but massive production began much later, and also traditional sector was much larger. And traditional weaving industry, I'm now #2. Traditional cotton weaving industry, which used labor using hand looms, not power looms, and yarns produced by traditional cotton weaving industry dominated around until 1915. This indicates that hand loom was appropriate technology in Japan before World War I. And traditional weaving industry began using wood and iron mixed power looms since around 1915, whose price is more or less than 5% of the price of imported iron power looms. The father founder of Toyota Motor Company, Mr. Takichi Toyoda. He was a loom carpenter. Loom carpenter. That sounds funny, right? But what he did was he looked at the iron power looms imported from UK, and he used woods to imitate iron power looms. Using woods, he produced power looms, but later on he realized that it's better to use a little bit of iron, mostly wood, but a little bit iron, the wood and iron mixed power looms, which is much cheaper. Price is only 5% or less of the price of imported machines. The development of wood and iron mixed power loom is extremely important adaptation. So we Japan did not just import, we modify, revise, and improve for the environment of Japan, where labor was very, very cheap. There were 27 traditional cotton weaving clusters. Unfortunately, in this area, data availability is limited. And some of the industrial cotton weaving clusters were domestic market oriented, like Shizuoka, which is located between Tokyo and Osaka, and others were export oriented, which is just north of Saitama Prefecture, which is just north of Tokyo. So Saitama, blue lines, Saitama was quite a large cotton fabric production area in the beginning. And Shizuoka was very, very minor. But over time, production in Shizuoka increased and production in Saitama didn't. The question is why? The obvious reason is the Saitama left this portion. Hand looms were used. All the hand looms are used. And then power looms increased a little bit. But in contrast, in Shizuoka, which is export oriented, total number of power looms increased much more rapidly than Saitama. And hand looms became very unimportant over time. So why did Saitama, which was a larger producer in the beginning, fail to grow, while Shizuoka, which was a minor producer in the beginning, succeeded to grow? Shizuoka was not endowed with skilled workers because of the absence of the tradition of cotton weaving industry. So it selected production of simple, easy fabric for export by using unskilled workers. And simple tasks can be performed by machines. So that is why Shizuoka introduced power looms. Saitama was endowed with the skilled workers because of the tradition of cotton weaving. So it selected production of relatively sophisticated products for domestic market. And such production cannot be mechanized easily. Last month, I completed my survey of embroidery companies in Lumban. It's a very interesting area. In Lumban too, sophisticated products are produced manually by hand. And simple, cheap, low-quality products are produced by machines. So the manual work can produce high-quality products, whereas mechanized ones can produce a lot of products, but the quality is very low. I'm sure the paper about the Runban will be published in international journals. That's a very interesting case and very similar to the Japanese case. Okay, so we have completed cotton spinning and cotton weaving. So we now have the silk reading. It's silk yarn, and then silk weaving. Okay. This shows total production. Yeah, we have export data from this year, and then export increased. And then this is the production of machine field silk. So this is produced by a modern sector. The modern sector is more important than traditional sector in raw silk production. But if we look at silk production in traditional sector and the estimated supply of machine field silk, the domestic weaving industry, silk weaving industry, which sector? Modern sector or traditional sector? Which sector provided yarn to silk weaving industry? I found that it was traditional. Traditional ones are very important to support the silk weaving industry in earlier years. And then gradually, modern sector supplied silk yarn to silk weaving industry. So what happened? Government established a large-scale Tomioka silk mill by directly importing modern capital using reading technology from France. And the government invited French engineers and French workers and imported French bricks, machines, everything from France. And Tomioka was selected as World Heritage. Many Japanese are proud of it. But I'm very, very critical. That was a mistake government made. Tomioka was the most modern factory at that time in the world. And lots of French people came, but the technology adopted by Tomioka never diffused to other areas. And Tomioka itself collapsed eventually. So this direct technology import was failure or mistake. The same kind of mistake has been made by African governments. African governments, when they have money, they imported the most modern technology. And always they failed. Similarly, Japan did the same thing. Japan imported technology from France, very expensive, but technology was not diffused at all, and Tomioka itself did not perform very well. So at least until World War I, the traditional labor-using reading industry dominated and supplied raw silk to domestic silk weaving industry. The modern mechanized silk reading industry gradually developed, but particularly after World War I. And while the traditional industry was not so active in improvement of technology, the modern industry was more active in adaptive technology improvement. These contrasting changes explain stagnation of the traditional sector and the accelerated growth of the modern sector. Okay, we have one more silk weaving industry. This is the blue line, the production, and export is represented by orange line. characteristics of weaving industry. While there was no import, amount of export was small, indicating no strong comparative advantage in the production of silk fabrics in pre-war Japan. In 1872, this is very important statement. In 1872, just after the Meiji Restoration, 3 craftsmen were sent by Kyoto prefectural government. They worked in Nishijin in Kyoto. That was the most advanced silk weaving industry in Japan. 3 craftsmen were sent to Lyon. Lyon was the most advanced silk weaving district in the world. Their mission was to purchase power looms, which were popular in Lyon. But they considered that the power looms with the steam engine was not appropriate for Japan at that time, where a lot of cheap labor was available. Therefore, they purchased simple machines, simple tools, a flying shuttle and jacquard, which can be attached to a hand loom. I strongly admire these guys. Their decisions were correct. And if they imported power looms, silk weaving industry in Japan will not have developed. And in fact, the two large-scale weaving private farms, these are private farms were established in 1882 in Kyoto and 1887 in another place. They adopted power looms with steam engines. These farms directly imported labor-saving technologies, that was power looms. They failed to develop. They collapsed. They were closed. And then there was 3 large silk weaving clusters. Nishijin, that was most advanced, located in Kyoto. Keijiro is an imitator of Nishijin and located 100 kilometers north of Tokyo. And Fukui is the north of Kyoto. This is a newcomer. Let us compare the performance of these clusters. If we look at the production, Nishijin was the largest in the beginning. But the Nishijin's production did not grow so much. And this is a Keijiro. Keijiro is an imitator of Nishijin. The production level was lower, but the pattern of changes are very similar to Nishijin. And the interesting thing is Fukui. Fukui produced almost nothing in early period, but its production increased, and became the largest industrial cluster. So what happened? The story is similar to the case of cotton fabrics. The Nishijin, they used hand looms. Keijiro, they used hand looms. And this Prewar hand looms, and then Fukui also used hand looms. But gradually, Fukui adopted power looms, whereas Nishijin, this blue, and the Keijiro, this orange, did not adopt the power looms as much as Fukui. So what happened? There's a similarity between the case of cotton weaving and silk weaving clusters. Adoption of power looms by cotton spinning farms and by large private silk weaving farms in the early phase did not lead to appreciable growth in the production of fabrics. Adoption of power looms was not appropriate. Initially, large clusters, Saitama in the case of cotton, Nishijin in silk, failed to grow initially. Initially, negligibly small clusters like Shizuoka in cotton and Fukui in silk grew much, much faster. Initially, large clusters relied on skilled workers, used handlooms, and produced sophisticated fabrics for domestic markets, particularly kimono. Initially, small clusters relied on unskilled workers. There was no skilled workers, therefore they employed unskilled workers, adopted power looms, and produced simple, cheap fabrics for export. And they succeeded. Although I do not have time to discuss particularly when handlooms were used, like Lumban, they're the boss who organized the production system. Okay, let me conclude my presentation. In the early phase of development, when labor was abundant, the adoption of capital using technology like mule spindles, premature adoption of power looms, large-scale silk weaving mills, large-scale silk weaving factories with power looms and steam engines, which were largely directly imported technology. All of them failed to contribute to industrial development. Last Monday, I talked about why the Philippines failed. Philippines failed to learn from other countries and then modify, revise, improve the technology. That was missing in the Philippines. On the other hand, here, number two, in the subsequent period, the choice of appropriate labor using technology and adaptations, ring spindles with the cotton mixing technology, development wood and iron mixed power looms, and this is a boss controlling the production in Kyoto, Kiryu, and also Lumban. They significantly contributed to the development of the textile industries, Prewar Japan. In the later phase of development after turning point, labor-saving technologies were introduced. Now, I'd like to show you the last page. Sorry. Yeah, this is the table showing what I explained. But let's skip this one. Flying this model of development was not quite relevant, partly because of the failure to consider selective technology choice and adaptations, and partly because of the neglect of the linkage between cotton spinning industry and weaving industry. And emphasis on successful labor industrialization is somewhat misleading, partly because capital-intensive technologies were adopted in the initial phase of development, and partly because there was a shift from labor-intensive industrialization to labor-saving industrialization after World War I. In short, appropriate choice of technologies and adaptations to changing factor environment were the keys to the successful development of textile industries in Prewar Japan. That is the case everywhere. I wish African countries and also the Philippines should learn from our experience. Our strategy continues after World War II. So the story I talked was about the pre-war, but the same thing continued in the post-war period. Let me go to the last slide, which is probably the most important slide in my presentation. This is a photo taken, so major restoration was 1868. This photo was taken 5 years later, 1873. These 5 people were leaders of Japan at that time. all of them are very, very famous. All the children in school learn their name, their roles. They participated in the mission to visit Europe, UK, France, Germany, and the United States for 1.5 years. They were the leaders. I don't know what happened to the policies at that time during a time when they were absent. But they learned a lot about modern technology. And after they came back from their 18-month trip, they said it would take Japan 50 years to catch up. That was too optimistic. But important thing is the attitude to learn from other countries. And then also in other industries which I discussed today, the attitude to learn from other countries and then modify them. That was the keys to success in industrial development in Japan. Thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you very much, sir.
Okay. Okay, I have stage.
So thank you, sir, for your enlightening talk. Dr. Otsuka presented two keys for a successful development. First is appropriate technology choices, and second is the adaptation to evolving factor endowments. Sir, your analysis has given us valuable lessons on economic and industrial growth. Now for our open forum. Sir, you could please sit here, sir, for our open forum. You may use the microphone located along the aisle. You could please introduce yourself and the organization that you represent or affiliated with. Now, the open forum is ready. We are ready to accept your questions.
Hello. Ayan. Hello, Dr. Otsuka. Good afternoon po. I'm Fiona. I'm currently taking up MS Economics here at UP Los Baños. I think Japan's successful development of its Prewar textile industry could serve as a model for the industrial growth in many developing countries like the Philippines, for instance. So with this in mind, I have two questions. So the first question is, how has it influenced the Philippines' approach to industrialization, if we already have any existing evidence on that? And then for the second question, what do you think are the most important lessons that the Philippines could adopt today, could feasibly adopt today, especially in terms of labor practices, trade policies, and what else? Trade policies, and yeah, to be able to address the current issues that we have, especially in terms of global competition and job insecurity. That's all. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Last October, I visited Rumba, no? And then made informal interviews with maybe 20 or 30 managers. I was very impressed. They are doing the right thing. They adopt skill-intensive, labor-intensive technologies. And then, as I asked those people, what did government do for you? Answer was none. Government did not support anything. They should have provided training, particularly for the managers. That is missing in international foreign aid. Workers are often trained, but it was managers who make major decisions. They must be trained. And fortunately, I got the research money from Ministry of Education in Japan, so that I'm going to conduct a survey of Marikina this summer, probably August. I expect that that's a very, very promising industry, but there is no support from the government. In contrast, Japanese government did support, Korean government did support, and Taiwanese government did support a lot. Particularly interesting is the ITRI, Industrial Technology Research Institute. It has about 50 workers with PhDs in engineering. They are sent to Silicon Valley, Japanese industrialized areas, and so. And they go and then learn what Japanese are doing, Americans are doing, and analyze the structure of the new innovation. And they come back, and then they make training courses to young workers and entrepreneurs. And some of them started new business. Some of them introduced new technology. So government in your country should establish institutions which digest the modern technologies and modify them to fit with the environment in the Philippines. That kind of policy is most important, not trade policy, subsidy. No, it's an investment in human capital, particularly investment in the leaders of industry. By the way, Glenn, what you did was similar to what Japanese did, right? You might have brought IA8 to Africa. It didn't work. And you crossed the yearly varieties with the local varieties and that are adaptation activities, to use my terminology. And then the productivity increases. So always choosing appropriate technology and then adapting that technology to particular environment in particular economy. Thank you.
Yeah, maybe I just share one. Before in the Philippines, we have I think that's a good initiative. In our different advanced countries, we have offices of innovations where we field some people there so that they will know what are the technologies, what are the industries that are blooming in those countries, and they tend to know what's happening and adjust it and send it back to the Philippines. But that program was shut down after the EDSA revolution. I think that's a good idea that we should do. Like in every embassy, we have one agriculture or industry office there where they go around to know what are the technologies available and feed it back to the Philippines and how to adjust it and tropicalize it, I may say, because most of the industry before are from US, from Canada or Europe, but we will not just be, they are not just copying it, imitating it, but modify it to tropicalize it in the condition. So I think we should continue doing that. If you're in the, you guys will be in the government influencers then, I think. What do you think? Is that a good idea or?
Absolutely, yes. And I mentioned Lumban and Marikina. I was very impressed with the situation of industrialization in Cebu Islands. Each village has some specialty, producing particular parts to particular company located in Cebu City. It's really developing, but again, there is no support. there should be more training programs for managers, technicians, and even workers. Then we can develop easily. So I hope I'll have a chance to talk to policymakers in this country.
I'm Dailin Cabanilla. I'm an anthropologist. I'm a retired professor of this university, as you can see from my white hair, obviously. I have many notes here, but I'll try to compress them in just a few statements. Of course, Japan's experience in textile development is unique, as is in every country. But in the context of colonialization, for example, the Philippines, India, the Europeans did not introduce, or nor did we borrow technologies from them. They forced us, they found a way to bring in the products, the textiles from Europe. And they did this by killing the local weaving industry, by physically destroying the looms. In India, they reported, I think in the Philippines also, the cutting of the hands of the weavers. So this is just to bring in, not the technologies, but the finished products, the textiles from Europe. And so it's not so much a question of the getting technologies from abroad and then the local industries will adapt to this. No. So the Europeans wanted, but this is because of the whole enterprise of colonialism. And that is why in India, Mahatma Gandhi used the spinning wheel as his symbol for resistance against the British colonization. The spinning wheel, the cotton spinning wheel. Of course, when economists talk of, sorry, I'm not an economist. When you talk about industries, you talk about machines, mechanization, capital intensiveness, and all. But the local, in many traditional societies, weaving is very much a part of the culture. And here we're talking about not so much the economic value, but the cultural value of the fabrics, of the textile, even the process. It reflects even botanical knowledge, the local knowledge, because especially the women would know what plants to use and what dyes from what plants. So the textiles spoke very much about the local cultures. And I sort of missed, of course, that was not the topic for the lecture, but in Japan, the textiles also hold very deep cultural meanings. You're talking about silk and the kimonos that were woven there. And so maybe you can comment on some of my random thoughts here about your talk. Thank you.
Yeah, colonialism was responsible for collapse of many industries in developing countries. That was a really negative aspect of colonialism. A lot of products were imported, therefore domestic production collapsed. But colonialism was over many years ago. And then, particularly in the context of Africa, the government introduced most modern technologies, and all of them failed. That was a problem. We have to start with the simple industry, labor-intensive industry, and then climb up to next type of industry like capital-intensive, knowledge-intensive. We should never start with knowledge-intensive industry or capital-intensive industry. And there's no conflict between cultural value and the introduction of new technology. Still, the skills, say in the case of Japanese sake, it's mechanized now, but the skill of workers was incorporated into machines little by little. There are some companies which introduced big machines from the beginning. The quality of sake declined and they became very small. But but small ones, some of the small sake brewery companies incorporated the skills of skilled workers to machines and gradually mechanize, then they can produce high quality sake by machines. So yeah, I agree with you that there is a cultural value, but I don't think there's much conflict between cultural value and introduction of new ideas from abroad. And unless new ideas are imported and digested and adapted, economy will never develop. Poverty will never decline. I'm advocating this kind of thing to reduce poverty eventually. Poverty reduction, microfinance cannot solve the problem. Poverty reduction can be reduced to a significant extent only if we provide employment opportunity for the poor, unskilled workers. Thank you.
Any more questions? Okay. This month is Women's Month, sir. May we ask if there are notable contributions of the women in the textile industry during the pre-war Japan?
Yeah. Can you say it again?
Yes, sir. Today is this month is Women's Month, and I've seen the wage of the men and women before. Are there notable contributions of women during the pre-war Japan for the for the successful development of the textile industry?
Yeah. In the beginning, particularly in the cotton spinning, it was men who used the mill machines. But when ring machine was introduced, the women became more important. About 80% of workers in cotton spinning was female workers. Weaving, female dominant in cotton and silk. Silk reading, yeah, also women. Women were more important than men.
Okay, sir. So thank you very much. That wraps up our open forum. Okay, so to present the certificate of appreciation, may we call Dr. Glenn and Dr. Noor. Allow me to read the citation on the certificate. The Southeast Asian Regional Center for Graduate Study and Research in Agriculture awards the Certificate of Appreciation to Dr. Keijiro Otsuka for sharing his expertise as speaker during the Agriculture and Development Seminar Series on the essence of the successful development of textile industries in pre-war Japan, held on 5 March 2025 at the SEARCA Drilon Hall, Los Baños, Laguna, Philippines. Signed by our center director. Okay, thank you very much, sir. To our participants, if you want to listen again to his presentation, a video recording will be uploaded at the SEARCA website together with the PDF version of Dr. Otsuka's presentation. And you can also watch it again in on our Facebook page. Okay. Okay, sige. Ito. Okay, so may we request our attendees to please stand and move at the center. Move toward the center. Okay, one more photo, please. Okay, so we will be sharing the photo taken. To our dear seminar attendees and guests, we would like to know your insights and takeaways from this seminar. You may share these thoughts, your thoughts and your feedback through accessing this link or um, scanning the QR code on the screen. Okay, so once again, we would like to thank Dr. Keijiro Otsuka for sharing with us that enlightening presentation. Thank you all for coming and joining us in this afternoon's seminar. We have prepared a limited light refreshments at the lobby.